Alright, so this past week in Formula One has been absolutely wild. Like, not even exaggerating here, it feels like every hour there's a new twist. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the paddock just burst into flames next. We started with the insane news on Wednesday that Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull's upper management, and that alone was enough to make headlines all across the sport. But then things got really interesting, because guess who just happened to fly into an airport conveniently located near Red Bull's HQ in Milton Keynes shortly after the Horner story broke? Yep, Max Verstappen's private jet. Not a coincidence, right? That alone had the entire F1 community scrambling for answers. But just when we thought that was the whole story, now there's been a leak. Recently, Max's private jet has been seen landing in Sardinia, where 2 yachts were seen docked off this week, one belonging to Toto Wolff, the other belonging to Max Verstappen. Max shows up, stays for 5 hours, then flies away again, like that's more than enough time for a coffee, a casual chat, and possibly a little something called a 2026 contract outline. I don't know what's more suspicious, the timing, the location, or the fact that we're all acting like Toto just goes sailing around the Mediterranean with absolutely no motive. So yeah, something big is brewing, and Max might just be pulling the biggest mid-season power move we've seen in a long time. So if you really want to know where this whole tornado of drama actually began, we've got to rewind just a little. Because right after the British Grand Prix, the Thai shareholders, who've always been the side of Red Bull that had Christian Horner's back through thick and thin, decided to sell 2% of their controlling stake. And while that sounds like a tiny number on paper, that tiny 2% basically flipped the entire Red Bull power dynamic, giving the Austrian board, the group that's never really vibed with Horner all that much, full control at 51%. And that right there sealed Horner's fate. Now, the exact reason for his sacking still hasn't been released publicly. No official statement saying, hey, here's why we kicked out the guy who ran the team for 20 years, but you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure it out. This is boardroom politics 101. The Thai side protected him during all the mess in early 2024, you know which one I'm talking about, and once they were out of the picture, it was only a matter of time. So hours after his final speech to the Red Bull team, guess who showed up at HQ? Yep, Max Verstappen himself. Now, I don't know if that was Max popping in to say, hey, I'm still here, don't worry, or if it was him telling the higher-ups that he's already mentally checked out of Red Bull and is just figuring out which outfit looks better in black and silver. But whatever that meeting was about, it definitely wasn't small talk. That timing, just hours apart from Horner's farewell, that's not a coincidence. Something is being planned, and it's looking massive. Alright, now here's where things go from interesting to full-on conspiracy chart with red string levels of F1 drama, because ex-F1 driver Ralf Schumacher has been saying he's sure, not maybe, not possibly, but absolutely sure Max Verstappen is leaving Red Bull after the 2025 season. This isn't one of those vague he's evaluating his options kind of corporate fluff statements. No, in his interview with Formula 1D, Ralf looked dead into the soul of the camera and basically told us to prepare the welcome banner at Brackley because Max is headed for Mercedes. And honestly, he might not be wrong, because what really made people's eyebrows hit orbit was his casual mention of yachts. Yeah, apparently earlier this week, 2 luxurious yachts just happened to be chilling off the coast of Sardinia, one belonging to none other than Toto Wolff and the other conveniently to Max Verstappen. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they at least had a quiet little chat over a fancy cappuccino and a mutual agreement to blow up the F1 grid next season. I mean, imagine being a random tourist walking by and accidentally witnessing Toto and Max shaking hands on a yacht. That's not a casual meetup, that's plotting. And if that wasn't spicy enough, let's talk about Max's jet. Yes, we are now tracking Verstappen's plane like we're running a military-grade surveillance op. His private jet was confirmed to have landed in Sardinia right when Toto's yacht was there and stayed for, get this, 5 hours. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never flown to a remote island just to enjoy 5 hours of scenery unless there was $1 billion contract involved. And maybe, just maybe, some discussions about the color scheme of his future race suit. Then there's Nelson Piquet Jr., aka Max's brother-in-law, and also a man who doesn't exactly keep quiet on controversial topics. But the way he's been hinting at a Mercedes switch through interviews and vague social posts has definitely fueled the fire. You put it all together, Ralf openly saying it's happening, Max's jet conveniently syncing with Toto's yacht rendezvous, Piquet Jr. nudging the narrative forward, and suddenly this all stops feeling like speculation and starts looking a lot more like a pre-planned soft launch, honestly, all signs are pointing to Mercedes pulling off the heist of the decade. They waited in the shadows, let the Red Bull chaos unravel on its own, and now they're swooping in just as Max's patience with the Milton Keynes situation hits its absolute limit. Don't be surprised if we wake up next week to break Max Verstappen signs multi-year deal with Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team, because at this point, the pieces are all falling into place and it's not even subtle anymore. Okay, so let's just go full speculative fiction for a second and say it out loud. Max Verstappen actually leaves Red Bull and joins Mercedes. I know, take a deep breath, sip some water. But yeah, if that becomes official, we are about to witness the most chaotic F1 timeline. So if Max goes to Mercedes, who's out? Let's be honest, it's not Kimi Antonelli. Toto's adopted that kid like a second son. He's 18, ridiculously fast, and has already been prepped like the second coming of Lewis Hamilton. Toto has been grooming this lineup for years, and there's no way he's throwing away all that groundwork now. Which means, sorry George Russell fans, and this is where it gets interesting. Because George leaving Mercedes wouldn't just be a sad PR statement about mutual respect and growth. Oh no, it could mean a full circle moment where George does the absolute Uno reverse card and joins Red Bull. Imagine that, Russell in the same garage that once ghosted him during his junior career, now possibly becoming the new #1 driver to lead their post-Max rebuild. And after all that Horner drama and all the Verstappen loyalty chaos, Red Bull might just do what they've never done before. A full reset, new leadership, new philosophy, maybe even a completely new driver lineup. Sorry Yuki Tsunoda, it's not looking good, mate, especially if Red Bull wants to rebuild their brand from scratch. The power of dreams doesn't always include you screaming for what? Every team radio every second race. But it doesn't even stop there, because here's a plot twist no one saw coming. What if Christian Horner doesn't take a sabbatical, doesn't retire, but instead walks straight into Maranello and becomes the team principal at Ferrari? I mean, Fred Vasseur has had a decent run, but let's face it, Ferrari still haven't fixed the small problem of being Ferrari, and Horner joining the prancing horse would be poetic cinema. I'm talking Shakespeare with a carbon fiber twist. The man who went to war with Mercedes for 8 years straight suddenly teams up with Hamilton again to take down Max and Toto? It's the reverse 2021 saga. Now it's Horner and Lewis versus Toto and Max. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that storyline alone could make the 2026 season the greatest in F1 history. Like, forget regulation changes, forget sprint race drama. This is Netflix writer's room level plot twisting. And if this all plays out, we're talking full tectonic shift in Formula One. Red Bull, losing both Horner and Verstappen in the same year, is not just a shake-up, it's a spiritual reset. Mercedes getting Max is like pulling Excalibur out of the stone. So yeah, whatever happens next, we are officially entering F1's wildest era yet. This isn't just silly season anymore, this is legacy season. And whether Max ends up in silver or stays in red and blue, one thing's for sure, no matter what team you're cheering for, you're gonna want popcorn screenshots and a full race calendar reminder, because 2026 might actually break the internet.